Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest HCLTech Trends and Insights podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing the range of challenges facing global supply chains and how the adoption of technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning can help overcome these hurdles. My name's Nick Ismail. I'm the Global Head of Brand Journalism at HCLTech, and helping me break down this topic, I'm delighted to be joined by Chirag Modi, the Corporate Vice President of Global Industry Strategy at Blue Yonder, and Sada Gopan Singham, or Sada as we call him, who's the Executive Vice President of Global Head of SaaS and Commercial Applications Digital Business Services at HCLTech. Chirag and Sada, how are you both doing today?
Excellent. Thanks for having us, Nick.
Absolutely fabulous to join this, Nick, and great to converse with Chirag and you together on this.
Excellent. And thank you both so much for taking part in the conversation. So let's get started. The first question, and Chirag, if you could answer this for us first, what challenges are global supply chains experiencing, and are there any macroeconomic factors at play?
Yeah, where should we begin? I mean, there are tons and tons of topics to discuss here. So, of course, last 4 years have been tremendous ups and downs with respect to COVID. But honestly, the trends of disruptions have been playing in the background for more than a decade now. So it first started with e-commerce, then it triggered into labor and real estate challenges as far as, tons and tons of retail-specific topics, came to the light. The customer perception of each and every company, each and every retailer as to what is really the good mix between an e-commerce versus the brick and mortar sales. So it all really began there, but it all came to a head when COVID hit. And, with so many of the traditional supply chain, physical infrastructure items, such as whether it's the shipping vessels, whether it's the transport carriers, whether it's parcel carriers, other topics, they all kind of came to light during COVID years. More recently, on the disruption side, we've also seen a lot more on the natural disasters. A lot of those topics have become a lot longer in nature compared to what it used to be before. And they've also become a lot more disruptive in terms of the losses. So really kind of starting with the business model changes, with e-commerce, trickling down into the real estate challenges, whether it's manufacturing capacities or distribution capacities, labor challenges inside the four walls of the warehouse or manufacturing plants, and then coming to heads with natural disasters and other topics. More recently, you may have heard, Nick, about, Panama Canal related challenges. The number of ships, the drought in Panama Canal is actually causing the traffic to be moderated in Panama Canal, and which is kind of very, very unheard of in this day and age, given how widely used it is. And I wouldn't even, begin with the IT infrastructure challenges, all the systems. I mean, we'll chat at length about it, but I want to start at least with the physical infrastructure related challenges first, and then we'll discuss more in detail on the system side.
Sure, that's a really interesting example of disruption with the Panama Canal, and maybe we can touch a bit on how the supply chain actually needs to become more sustainable, preventing issues like that. But that also brings another challenge, I imagine. But before we get onto that, Sada, what challenges are you seeing when it comes to the supply chain? Chirag spoke about the physical challenges. Maybe you could go into the IT infrastructure ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, Chirag covered a spectrum of issues, very well put, I would say. I think, from a IT standpoint purely, I would say that, IT and business go hand in hand in anything that we discuss on supply chain. But broadly, I would say that across all industries, across all regions, from planning to execution, including areas like warehousing to transportation, or in getting a visibility and getting a good hold on how the supply chain is operating in real time, to even working on functions like procurement, order management systems, and third-party integrations. All these have undergone massive facelift, the kinds that we have not seen before at all. And that means that it is as if we have leapfrogged by several decades in the matter of 3-4 years. And those changes, from the variety, from the range, and the type of industries, and the type of solutions that we have been able to sort of get, meant that the industry has gotten a little ahead now. And that meant that a lot of investments on IT, a lot of refresh in terms of the IT initiatives, a lot of coming together of business and IT, as well as, driving value at a much faster pace and making overall the supply chains competitive, making them resilient like the way that Chirag outlined. But in all, making the businesses more competitive, so that has become the new norm. And the overall competitiveness of any industry, any enterprise today is pretty much reinforced by the resiliency they have built on supply chain in the last 3-4 years. And with IT and business coming together, that has really made it possible for several enterprises as a showcase. And that's what most others want to emulate. So clearly, the determinant of success is slowly shifted to how the supply chain is being managed. And that is a great way to reset business competitiveness as we move forward.
Thank you, Sada. And just before we move on to AI and machine learning in particular as tools that can be used to help overcome the supply chain challenges and build resiliency, Chirag, I want to come back to the point you made, or the point that you raised about sustainability challenges. How can supply chains become more sustainable, and is that a priority for them or for organizations that run them? And how can it be done?
This has been discussed at length for over 3 decades now, Nick. And United States, I'll just start with the United States because that's where I'm based out of, and that's where majority of the world's eyes are at. We have discussed this back in 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Carbon cap and trade initial discussion started back then. It's that long back we are going, and we are still discussing about adoption of it. Right? That kind of gives you an idea how much further we still have to go. And traditionally, we, as an economy, we have tried to keep focus on, ground up, like companies wanting to take charge of this. But the government's finally getting involved in mandating top-down initiatives. So the SEC ESG reporting, which just came out about a month and a half ago, those reporting requirements are really one of those really big steps in that right direction. Now, it only mandates Scope 1 and Scope 2. It does not mandate Scope 3. But honestly, Scope 1 and Scope 2 really should cover pretty much the entire spectrum of providers. Because if you are a utility company, for you, a Scope 1 would be different. For me as an end user, it may or may not be counted in Scope 1 or 2, but as a utility company providing services to their customers, they will still have to count and report those numbers. So where does it all take us? We have to be the starting as an end consumer, number one. As business owners, we also have to be, mindful of the fact that this is eventually going to come and, affect us. Imagine you are a shipping company, and now you have to ration, so to speak, number of ships going to Panama Canal. It affects you and your business. So all of these topics really kind of come together when you think about it holistically. And with the top-down mandates, such as the SEC mandate, I think it will be a great starting point for all of us. And honestly, all of us in the same ecosystem, whether it's HCLTech, whether it's Blue Yonder, all of us in the ecosystem will have to do our bit. Our solutions will need to account for those sustainability-related metrics, so that we can help our clients design, better algorithms, run better algorithms to do optimization. HCLTech will do the exact same thing on the services and other topics, advising perspective. All of us will have to chip in and do our bit.
Sure, thank you. And in terms of some of those sustainable solutions, they're going to be reliant on technologies like AI and ML. So, Sada, moving into the next question, how can adopting artificial intelligence and machine learning help overcome challenges such as sustainability and build more resilient supply chains?
So I think, this operates at three different levels, for a start. One is, as Chirag mentioned, governance and regulations have been the biggest catalyst in terms of, wider adoption. That means that, again, we are talking about different governments, different regulation bodies, different geographies. So what we see is, obviously, the United States has gone ahead and made it mandatory in a particular way, in a very resounding way. Enterprises are falling in line. We also see that, around the world, across continents and across industries, various regulations operate at various levels. For example, the regulations that operate in the Chinese rim countries versus the regulations that operate in the European market, to Far East in Japan and Australia. So we see that, while there is a common denominator, there are substantial variations in terms of how these companies are expected to report. And when it becomes a supply chain being global in nature, it means that, you need to adhere to a superset of, regulations there. So with that in mind, what we realize is, it is not just going to be stitched through ability to conform to each of the local geographies. But this is where we see a massive uplift the technology can provide. And in fact, there is no way any enterprise can move forward without leveraging technology at its best. This is where we see the various algorithms, through machine learning or artificial intelligence, industry after industry, depending on their scale, maturity, and their ambition, and the type of partners that they work with, play a very critical role. And the beauty of this is, in an unexpected way, because it's a supply chain, the best player in the supply chain actually pretty much determines the pace at which the others need to sort of, get together. And that means there is a massive uplift that's also happening there. Suddenly we see enterprises sort of going multiple steps ahead, when they are not ready because their supply chain partner is actually pushing them to do something bigger and better and bolder. So this is possible only because of the bridge the technology provides there. So I would say that a new norm is being sort of set here. A new normal is being set here, primarily enabled by technology, mostly powered through machine learning and artificial intelligence there. HCLTech works with players like Blue Yonder, the industry leaders here, to make it easy to digest, to make it repeatable, scalable, and provide global benchmarks across industries where possible. And everybody sort of benefits out of this. And we, in the process of making this a safer planet to live, we really sort of upgraded the state and maturity and the success potential for each of the industry in the process.
Thanks, Sada. And Chirag, the same question to you. How can adopting AI and ML help overcome these challenges and build resilient supply chains? And what should be considered when adopting and integrating these technologies into operations?
Yeah, I think as long as you are using technology for scalability, I think that's the way to go. So, when there are so many disparate laws and disparate regulations and, in general, so much disparity between operating in one region versus another region, as Sada was pointing out earlier, I think you always have to look at technology as an equalizer, if you will, as a normalizer to bring everybody, in that ecosystem together. So when you have to use technology for scalability, there is a responsibility on technology side to say, yeah, I'm going to help this scalable, but then I also want to make sure I do this the right way. Otherwise, all you're doing is garbage in, garbage out. And this is where the components of AI and ML and responsible AI, as we like to call it, really kind of comes in. So small examples, if you have your disruption in your shipping lanes, If you have disruptions, whether it's an ocean vessel, whether it's your trucking, or anything where the goods have not reached the warehouse yet, what can you do in order to divert that shipment, but not just manual, because that's not the definition of scalable. What can a system do autonomously to go from, instead of going from point A to point B, now it's diverting from point A to point C instead. And those pieces are really kind of the technologies we are building and deploying with our clients to be able to say that, as a journey for the customer, when, I'll describe this journey as kind of in a 4-stage, your digitization journey, because you can't scale anything unless you have digitization. That's really the first step. Optimization is like another step, which again, we have been doing optimization, as an industry for a while now, 20 plus years. We have been running algorithms. But then moving from there to really kind of doing predictive artificial intelligence based decision making. And even that aspect, we have been doing it for some time. 10 plus years, we have been doing that work in transportation space, warehouse space, and others. But how do you convert all of those in a scalable manner, in an autonomous way? That is really this stage we are at now, is moving from that predictive AI to an autonomous supply chain. And that's really where tons and tons of AI and ML algorithms will be needed. It's like you going in a normal distribution, you're going in and applying, 3 sigma and 4 sigma level of confidence intervals. That is really what makes our solutions differentiate. That is when a partner such as HCLTech, that's where they come in to deploy this the right way for the right clients, for their use cases.
Thank you. And before we go into some examples of customers or end user organizations, optimizing the supply chain, Sada, did you have any comments on, what organizations should consider when integrating AI and ML?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are multiple vantage points through which organizations need to approach. For example, there are organizations that were already on the ahead on the maturity curve in terms of supply chain adoption. Let's say start by setting up, what we used to call as self-healing supply chains in the past, to ability to create to be part of resilient supply chains, in the medium term. But more importantly, early leverage of AI and ML in the niche areas to provide localized or topicalized advantages, for their business competitiveness is a journey that some of the enterprises have been already into. So those enterprises have the real chance to be the category leaders, the industry redefiners, if I were to call, to look at benchmarking against similar processes across industries and be the best in what can be done as part of a supply chain. We have seen, for example, consumer industries trying to learn from pharma companies are trying to learn from high-tech industries. So all this means that there is a massive uplift across industries, a point that I referred to earlier as well. And that is all part for the course for industries that are already on the path to become the best in supply chain. There are some industries which got upended in this journey purely out of pandemic, where from a relatively lower maturity, they had to pitchfork to a state of higher maturity, being part of a larger supply chain with much more sophisticated players. For them, the real opportunity is leveraging AI and ML in a more substantive way, which means that it's not only a certain process that actually shows a remarkable difference, measured over a period of 5 years, but across the board, all the processes sort of, not only adhere to regulations, but also confidently march to be part of a larger supply chain ecosystem, as well as, be able to upgrade and enhance their internal processes and really sort of, move to a different quadrant of operations. So that is the real change. I would think that, that adds to their business competitiveness And that is where HCL has seen phenomenal success, in terms of many customers experiencing new levels of efficiency and ability to create customer delight, as part of this process. And all these are modulated. It is never a one-size-fits-all, even though they are part of the same supply chain. Given where they were in their journey to where they need to go, everybody has a different charter, everybody had a differentiated journey. And that's where HCLTech worked closely with the partners like Blue Yonder in creating what I call as calibrated journeys towards maturity in the supply chain space. Their AI and ML have been a real game changer for majority of our customers around the world.
Amazing, thank you. And so let's get into some examples. Chirag, can you provide any use cases or examples of where Blue Yonder has helped clients embrace AI to transform the supply chain?
Yeah, I mean, small examples could be, forecast accuracy. When you think about some supply chain planning and demand forecasting and other pieces, there is tons and tons of AI and ML algorithms built in it. Those algorithms, I think the last count I remember seeing was 165 billion forecasts we have deployed already in SaaS over close to 500 some clients who are already using that today in SaaS. So those forecasts are really one way to look at, how do you make this scalable, right? When you look at it from a solution perspective, those are really at the highest level of predictive AI component is concerned. Other examples are the transportation examples, the ETAs, expected time of arrivals. Within our transportation management systems, we have used that for over, I would say, 2009 or 10 timeframe. So since that timeframe, we have been using it. So close to 15 years now. And it has continually gotten better, with more variables being added in, historical data being used, and, more ML algorithms added in over time. And we in fact even added sustainability related optimization variable back in the 07-08 timeframe. So if you recall, back at that time, we had a new administration, in the White House here in the U.S., and they were pretty big on, energy credits and things of that nature. So a lot of companies were actually interested in running, optimizations based on that. And again, a lot of those optimizations had not just the heuristics and algorithms related with it, but it also had AI and ML baked in. So again, it's been 15 plus years, we have been using those algorithms. I think the big change, though, from predictive to autonomous example, as I was illustrating earlier, is really moving from the predictive AI to Gen AI. That's where there's a lot more work being done at this point. But majority of the work on the historical context perspective has been on predictive.
Sure, thank you. And Sada, what about you? Is there any use cases that you can share?
Yeah, certainly, Chirag mentioned about how enterprise planning itself has substantially changed given the leverage of modern technologies like ML and Gen AI. I think one of the things that's also happening here is we are now enabling our partners to be part of larger supply chain ecosystems. Earlier it used to be maybe a set of chosen partners to work with on supply chain for very valid business reasons. But sometimes, it has always been the case that, the technological enablement has proven to be a challenge in the past. So what has now happened is, our ability to sort of integrate supply chain with a scale-up and scale-wide attitude means that it is becoming easier for enterprises to integrate into differentiated supply chains at ease. So that is dimension number one. Dimension number two is we are also seeing a lot of changes that are happening just on the execution space itself. For example, in transportation, we see that there are more sophisticated approaches customers are beginning to take in terms of integrating with third-party players, in terms of managing their ERs, in terms of managing men, material, and related resources. an ability to sort of, effortlessly hitch on to a common pool of, assets and resources. That means, somebody can be running on their own resources and assets for a while, or a chosen set of, resources and assets for a while, and effortlessly make the switch towards multimodal transportation, assembling on the flight. All these are becoming possible because of the huge advantage technology provides them in being able to plan very flexibly and execute more elegantly. I think that's the big change that we are seeing. And the third thing that we're also seeing is ability for customers to move to e-commerce, integrating all the way from order management systems to internal fulfillment systems to ability to integrate third-party players and a federated setup and move across continents, be able to provide services and aftermarket services, all at one go with the same level of consistency and predictability and ability to read the customer's mind in this whole equation and getting that sentiment back into the decision-making process to enable them to promote their services, to make their businesses much more efficient, time in and time out. This is now becoming the new norm inside enterprises. And HCLTech works with partners like Blue Yonder in enabling this journey, empowering the business stakeholders, and enhancing the business competitiveness of our customers across planning, execution, visibility, and commerce. So this really is possible because of massive changes we are seeing in AI, in adoption of AI, Gen AI particularly. And that helps customers take those calls in being able to effortlessly switch and integrate to newer supply chains. And this is true across multiple industries, whether it is retail or life sciences or manufacturing or in North America or in Asia Pacific or in Europe. So I think this is truly universal phenomena, both from a geography standpoint as well as from the areas that it touches. So it's very difficult to just point out one. It is easy to point out who is not doing it as against who is doing it. That's the current situation.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you, Sada. And you've mentioned the partnership with Blue Yonder a couple of times now. So can you talk in more detail about how is HCLTech and Blue Yonder collaborating to deliver innovation and resiliency across the supply chain?
Yeah. So maybe we'll start with the historical context here. So we had been working with Blue Yonder in its various avatars, right? For the last 18 plus years, starting from 2005. So I would count that among the large partners of Blue Yonder, we are among the earliest to begin to work closely with Blue Yonder. We have worked with marquee customers, in their supply chain journey along with Blue Yonder in the last, 17, 18 years around the world in many of their significant and critical initiatives. One of the highly skilled up partners of Blue Yonder, covering their entire wingspan from execution, planning to visibility solutions. And in the last 5 years, we have really enhanced our relationship to become a 360-degree partner for Blue Yonder, working with Blue Yonder on their engineering initiatives, on their process initiatives, as well as, we are also the big, partner for Blue Yonder on the infrastructure initiatives, on their cloud initiatives, besides working with Blue Yonder in shaping and reshaping the business processes and of our enterprises in retail, CPG, life sciences, pharma, manufacturing, logistics, high tech. In any industry, any geography, we are working with Blue Yonder in varied capacities. I think the key thing is, an absolute trust and a cadence across various levels, such as demonstrated by Chirag's presence, as part of this conversation. That's the type of cadence we have between Blue Yonder and HCLTech, which means that, we're able to together go and tell our customers that, we stand for a certain interest in the way that we look at our business, but when it comes to protecting your interest, we are in it together. And this is demonstrated by actions, time and again across the continents. But more importantly, we are committed to building this relationship in much more substantive, because what lay ahead is far more important than what is happening. We see that Blue Yonder has made significant strategic shifts in the way that they are visualizing in terms of investments, in terms of becoming the most dominant supply chain player in the market, in being the most impactful supply chain player in the market. And HCLTech is absolutely voting forward in that journey by matching the investments, building intellectual assets, creating joint frameworks, going back to existing customers to up the game, and going after newer markets to create the new sets of opportunities and be that envelope in pushing that frontiers together. And that's a journey where we're investing from processes, from technology, from enablement, from being able to be the true partner in demonstrating opportunities and abilities for the customers to serve ahead through joint solutions, as well as making those forward investments in terms of industry-centric solutions, being the GenAI partner for Blue Yonder across the board. So all these are initiatives we are going to be doubling down. We're already at a great situation, but we do believe the future holds much greater promise, and we are absolutely invested in building this relationship much stronger.
Thank you, Sada. And Chirag, is there anything you'd like to add to what Sada's just said? Are there any learnings that you can share with us and the audience in terms of, what you've learned working in partnership with HCLTech when it comes to building supply chain resiliency?
Yeah, I think any partnership starts with trust, Nick. And I think, as Sada pointed out, it's been 18 some years now. You don't last this long unless there is trust. So, the foundation really is on that trust of, one, taking care of our joint clients. The client's paying both our bills. So that client needs to be well taken care of. The client needs to see the benefits of our technology. Client needs to see the benefits of HCL and Blue Yonder working together. And if client is really the one dictating, how well the partnership has worked, and again, it won't last this long if it wasn't a great partnership already. So it's been a great run, and we look forward to continuing it.
Absolutely. Is there anything that either of you would like to add before I close off the session regarding the topic, or anything that we haven't covered so far?
I think what I would say is any client who is looking to, explore opportunities, certainly there are options out there, for the client to explore, joint partnerships or individual solutions or other topics. But what's more important is to choose a partner with the right trust put in place. And I think that's really the most important part, is really you're looking for that advisor, if you will. Look for that advisor, and hopefully that is a great starting point, and we take it from there.
Great. And Sada?
I think, while enterprises and industries have made tremendous progress, I think what lay ahead is going to be much more promising, much more rewarding. And I do believe that, our customers need to look in terms of how do we sort of keep, upping this game here, and who they partner with, what's the specific value a partner can bring, not only in today's context, but in tomorrow's, ever-evolving context, who can be the partner, intimate partner that they can work with. I do believe that through various initiatives and various success stories and the experiences and the investments and the focus and the bold approach that we're taking towards working with leading-edge partners like Blue Yonder makes us pretty much in the center stage in terms of customers trusting their supply chain journeys, being the partner. And that is something that across business processes as well as technology, we are here to serve. And that's a broad message. So basically, this is not about today, it's about tomorrow. It's not about today's business competitiveness, it is ensuring tomorrow's success. And those are the initiatives that will pretty much define the future of any enterprise today. And we're pretty much, ready to serve our customers here.
That's great, Sada. Thank you so much. And thank you to Chirag as well. Both of your comments have been very insightful. I've learned a lot. I'm sure our audience has learned a lot. Before I close the podcast, I'd just like to sum up as best I can what you both said. So we started by talking about the challenges, and it was mentioned that the trends of disruption have been playing in the background of supply chain for a decade, and this was accelerated or brought to a head by COVID. We have increasing issues driven by climate change or sustainability challenges, and we're finally starting to see this being addressed by government regulation and top-down mandates. When it comes to integrating tech, it needs to be done for scalability and act as a normalizer. Responsible AI is crucial, and there are 4 stages of scale: digitalization, optimization, predictive AI, and we're moving into an autonomous way of working. Organizations need to leverage AI and ML in a more substantial way. There are several use cases, including forecast planning, and now we're moving into e-commerce integration and aftermarket services with the same level of consistency, as well as personalization at scale and customer sentiment really being moved into the decision-making process. And finally, regarding the partnership between Blue Yonder and HCLTech, it's all about trust. Trust is the foundation of a successful partnership. Thank you once again to Chirag and Sada, and we hope to see you on the next podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Nick. It's been a pleasure being part of this podcast.
Excellent. See you guys soon.
All right. Thank you. Take care.